Now, Tony Abbott has said an Indigenous voice to Parliament would leave Australia embittered and divided. I watched much of his evidence to that parliamentary committee today. Now, the committee bowed to pressure to allow him to appear. Have a look at this.
Frankly, I think that this process has been done badly from the beginning. I think this particular proposal should be pulled, and I think we should start again in a less partisan way. If the government nevertheless is determined to go ahead, I would very much urge this committee to recommend to the government that the current proposal be significantly altered.
I thought he handled himself pretty well today. Let's bring in my panel, Sky News contributor Joe Hildebrand. Great to see you again, Joe.
Great to be with you.
And Headline Advisory Director Andrew Carswell. Andrew, let's start with you. What did you make of Tony Abbott's appearance there, and is he right about the divisiveness of this referendum, do you reckon?
Well, Steve, I think there's a real chance that it will get to that divisive level that Tony is talking about. I thought he did a great job today. And I think it will all depend on the way the government approaches the debate from here on in. If they continue down this stubborn pathway of keeping mum on the exact details of this policy, if they refuse, continually to provide the nuts and bolts of what the voice will look like, how far into the government will it reach, what are the costs, all the necessary details that the public needs to hear. If they continue to vacate that policy space and that debate, then yes, you will get the division. And the reason why you get the division is when you vacate the space, it becomes occupied by the fringe. You've got the left out there, calling everyone a dinosaur if they don't vote yes on this. You're a racist if you don't accept this proposal. But then on the other side, on the far right, you've got people saying this will blow up Australia. This will lead to the voice recommending policies that will be detrimental to Australia. That they'll get to decide what the RBA does with the cash rate. They'll make decisions on foreign affairs. They'll get to pick your football team. They'll tell you what you're eating on Monday night. So there's some absurdities here that are on the right side, but there's some absurdities on the left. But the reason why we're hearing all about it is because the government has vacated this space.
Well, Joe, don't get me started on AFL teams. I'll ask you about that in a moment, and the fact they're going to ask everyone whether they're going to vote yes or not.
Yep.
You and I have written a lot about Tony Abbott in the past and about how his involvement with Indigenous communities. He was a regular visitor in his holidays to various regional parts of Australia. It was right for the committee to change their mind and let him speak.
I think very much so. I think the committee should have heard from him in the first place, and I think the one thing that could trouble this campaign is refusal to listen to dissenting voices, and that was a shame because the Yes campaign has a very, very strong and positive and powerful argument. There is absolutely no way that any of the things, and I'm glad Kazi rattled off some of the crazy sort of scaremongering that the No campaign is trotting out. This is as clear as day, a body that only has the power to make representations. Now, there's an argument, I think Greg Craven put one forward, that we should spell out that it's just ministers and not the bureaucracy, so the executive government would just be...
Do you think the public understands this?
But this is the thing, the public doesn't understand.
I don't know what
the public
what
doesn't understand it because, as Kazi just said, if you'd listened to half the opponents of it, that you would think that the voice was someone who was going to come around and actually had control over their lives. It doesn't even have control over Indigenous people's lives, and it is a real shame, as you say, it is a real shame for Tony Abbott, who has a great legacy and a great past in dealing with these issues and taking them seriously. This is a process.
But you think he's wrong?
That he started. He's absolutely wrong. And even he thinks he's wrong because he's completely reversed his position and reversed a process which he himself put in train, which he himself... This is a constitutionally conservative process.
Sorry, Joe. Wasn't that more... Tony Abbott saying he agrees with the Constitution recognising the rights of Indigenous Australians, but not the second bit that's added on to it?
I think that's right, and I think that would be a very common view across the coalition. I mean, this is the sad thing about the conflation of those two issues, is because the first issue on constitutional recognition, the vast majority of Australians would agree with.
But Tony Abbott actually commissioned people to go out and come back with a model for recognition.
Yes.
This is what he did. He spoke to Julian Leeser. He spoke to Noel Pearson. But no, he asked them to come back with a model to him and present it. And they did. And he said, I don't like this one. or indeed perhaps even changed his mind from what he was saying privately to what he was saying publicly when he realised that it would not actually be tolerated by the hard conservative Liberal base. And I think that is more of what's going on. I think we're seeing more venal politics than any matters of principle, and it's a shame for Tony.